So, think about your address for a second. Street, number, city. Tells people where you live, right?
Right. Pretty straightforward stuff, usually. Mail, deliveries.
But what if that whole idea, that simple address, is actually, well, morphing into something way more powerful, something kind of fundamental to our future infrastructure?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? How we're moving from just like an identifier to this really precise data point. And it's becoming crucial for, well, almost everything. Tech, commerce.
It's not just about finding a building anymore.
No, not at all.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're digging into why address standardization shapes the future. And it looks at exactly this, how the whole concept of an address is changing, and why this big push for standardization is becoming such a major force.
So the goal here, what we want you to get out of this.
Yeah, our mission for you is really to cut through the jargon and see why this seemingly mundane topic addresses is actually key to understanding things like drone deliveries, the global digital economy, basically a shortcut to understanding a really important shift.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with the power of precision.
Sounds good. The report really emphasizes this shift, right? From basic addresses to needing super granular location data.
Yeah, things like specific points of interest, even mapping inside buildings. Why is that suddenly so vital, this level of accuracy?
I mean, it seems like a small step, maybe from a street address to a specific point, but what's really driving this? Why now?
Well, think about it in your daily life, right? Ordering groceries, you don't just want them at the building, you want them at your apartment door, apartment 3B.
Right, especially in a huge complex.
Or ride sharing. Pinpointing your exact spot on a busy street corner, not just the general block. The more precise the location data tied to that address.
The more valuable it is.
Exactly. More data equals more value, especially for efficiency. Everything's connected now.
Okay, so that makes sense. But here's where it gets, well, kind of wild. The report talks about this global race.
Ah, yes, the race to create these new location standards.
Yeah, and private companies are just rushing in to fill it.
Right, you see these examples like, what 3 words, assigning unique 3-word codes to every little 3 meter by 3 meter square on the planet.
3 words for everywhere.
Yeah, and then you have Google's plus codes, which are alphanumeric. Facebook's doing mapping. It's really about defining where things are on a global scale.
So wait, whoever controls that system, they kind of control the map.
That's the crux of it. They control the map, which has huge implications for logistics, for commerce, for access to services, everything.
Wow, that's a big shift from, how addresses used to be used.
Totally. Historically, governments used addresses for, like, the census, taxation, population control. Basic stuff. Now, you've got these huge tech companies looking at location data as, like, critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
Something to build on.
The report even mentioned companies literally buying naming rights for addresses in places like New York.
Yeah, and the whole Trump Tower rebranding its address, remember that?
Right. It makes you think, Google, with all its map data, could that just become the default global standard?
Well, that's a really key question, isn't it? The potential for one company, essentially, to become the definer of location globally, that carries a lot of weight. Big shifts in influence, market power.
And it's not just about addresses on the ground anymore, is it? The report talks about going vertical.
Exactly. The future includes mapping inside buildings, think robots and warehouses, and also the airspace above us for drones.
Okay, so it's not just where something is, but also how an automated system like a drone or a robot can actually get there.
Precisely. This vertical dimension means a true standard needs to be much more comprehensive than just, latitude and longitude on a flat map. It needs to handle navigation in 3D space.
So let's pull this all together. Why is this big push for standardization, this common language for location, so important?
Well, ultimately, standardization is what creates interoperability, predictability, efficiency on a massive scale.
Okay.
Think about how global e-commerce works now, pretty smoothly, thanks to some level of address standardization already.
Yeah, mostly.
Right. Now imagine that level of precision and standardization applied everywhere, enabling automated logistics, AI-powered mobility. the works.
So controlling this language of location.
It's like holding a master key, really. A master key to the global digital economy.
Wow. Okay, so the big takeaway here is this isn't just some minor technical update for map nerds.
Definitely not.
This evolution, the standardization of addresses,
Yeah.
it's actually a fundamental power shift with really, really broad implications for how our future works.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe chew on.
Okay.
As this location data gets more valuable, more digitized, and potentially controlled by just a few private companies, what are the implications? You know, the benefits, sure, but also the potential drawbacks for us as individuals, for society. What does it really mean when a handful of companies basically get to define where everything is?